So let's do some math here. This grand bargain that President Obama has told us about would be $3 in spending cuts for $1 in tax increases. If you actually got those increases, well, is that a good deal? Well, right now we want to avoid the fiscal cliff, right? And the fiscal cliff, oh my God, the spending cuts would be outrageous. They'd be $1.2 trillion. Wow, that does seem like a lot. That might really hurt the economy. So how much would the grand bargain have in spending cuts? $3 trillion. But wait a minute, that's almost 3 times as much. So if you cared about the slowing down the economy because there's a fiscal cliff coming with spending cuts, well then the grand bargain is literally almost 3 times as bad. So why would that help? It wouldn't help because that's not their objective. Their objective isn't to limit spending cuts. Their objective isn't to not to go over a fiscal cliff. Their objective isn't to balance the budget. It's to shift the money to the already rich and powerful. The problem with the $1.2 trillion in the sequester, which is the current law right now, is that half of it comes from defense. They're not going to take money out of defense contractors' hands. Those guys actually give money to politicians. No, they're going to leave the defense money in, as bloated and ridiculous as that budget is. And then they're going to take it from the middle class and the poor. But that's not just speculation. That's, in fact, a lot of the offers that have already been given by the Obama administration in his first term. Let me give you a list. They've already said that they would take away $40 billion in federal pensions. Oh, great. Hit government workers, the middle class. But it's not just government workers overall, it's the military. They take away $11 billion from military retirement. I'm going to get back to that in a second. And then $20 to $127 billion from SNAP benefits, and that is a food stamp program. $200 to $300 billion from health care. Now, let me do the veterans here for a second. Now, when you say, hey, wait a minute, taken away from our veterans, I thought everybody agreed, oh, the veterans, the wars, and we're going to take care of you no matter what. Bullshit. You know what they already decided? They already decided in the last term, this is the one area they agree with. Since the veterans don't have any fancy lobbyists that pay the politicians, they're the first ones to get screwed. This is the top Democrats and Republicans on the committees that affect veterans have already agreed that they should be the first people to be cut in this deficit. It's sick, man. Let me read you the quotes. This is a joint letter, okay? Republicans and Democrats. We believe no constituency better understands the challenge America faces, and no constituency is better suited to, again, lead by example by putting country first. Think about that. Do you understand what kind of insult that is? They're saying, well, since you already sacrificed for our country, and maybe some of your friends died over in the wars that we started, maybe you lost a couple of limbs. Since you're already used to sacrificing for our country, we're going to ask you to sacrifice first again. Not the millionaires, not the billionaires, not the oil companies. We're going to take your money first. Democrats and Republicans agree. They continue in that joint letter. In past times of fiscal restraint, thoughtful and measured areas of budgetary savings found within veterans programs have advanced on a bipartisan basis. We recommend that the Select Committee refer to these lists when making the difficult decisions ahead. Now, I am greatly amused by that. Why? Because that's basically saying we've screwed veterans before, and it turns out it didn't hurt us at all because they don't give us donations. So the first thing you're going to want to do is screw veterans again. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not to say that you can't do any compromise. Of course you can. And in fact, I even like some of the spending cuts in this bill. Here, let me show you the ones I like. $22 billion in farm subsidies. It's outrageous. It goes to the large farm corporations, and there's no reason in the world that we should subsidize something that the free market should handle on its own. Then there's $20 billion in mortgage deductions for second homes. Now that's fair. If it's your first home and you're a middle-class family, we're not going to take it from you. But if you get a second home, a vacation home, an investment home, whatever it might be, we can take out those mortgage deductions. That's belt-tightening. That makes sense. And then another $20 billion in taking away high-earner deductions after a certain amount. They get the same deductions as everybody else, but they hit a cap, and then after that, they can't take deductions. That makes a lot of sense. We got to do what we got to do to balance the budget. And then you've got $20 billion in oil and gas subsidies. Again, money going to the most profitable companies in the world to do something they wouldn't do anyway because they make tremendous profit at it. And then finally, there's a $3 billion subsidy for corporate jets. The fact that that has not already been taken out is the most insane thing I've ever heard. They're willing to take out the veterans' pensions before they hit the corporate jets. It's grotesque. But yes, you can have some cuts. Now, how about on the tax side? Well, to be fair, if you got President Obama's grand bargain, well, you would have $1 trillion in tax increases. Now, that's the start of his negotiations. I would be shocked if he actually got that number. You know how terrible a negotiator President Obama is when he doesn't really want to win. But that's $1 trillion in tax increases. You should be happy with that, right? That's why we have to do a grand bargain where we give away the $3 trillion in spending cuts. But what if we did nothing? You know what happens? At the end of the year, the Bush tax cuts expire. And this is the amount of money we would save on just the taxes for people making over $250,000. You can get your middle class tax cuts, that's fine. You can get your payroll tax cuts, you can get all the tax cuts in the world. Just for the top 2%, if it goes back to the Clinton era rates, when the economy was booming, we would save $950 billion. That's your $1 trillion right there. So what the hell kind of grand bargain is this? What does the middle class get? What do progressives get? We're going to get the $1 trillion anyway if we do nothing. So when you see the math, and you see that in reality, this all it's doing is protecting the rich, and it's protecting the defense contractors, and taking the money instead from horrible cuts to the middle class, to our veterans, to federal employees, to the poor, Medicaid. Medicare eligibility would be raised from 65 to 67. Do you know how much money that takes out of your pocket? And they got to make you work longer. Why? Because Lockheed Martin needs another contract, and people like Mitt Romney need another tax cut. And President Obama is going to go along with this. In fact, most of this is his proposals from the last time around. Now, you tell me that this isn't a grand larceny. Everybody in Washington agrees, and the whole media agrees. Oh my God, we can't go over the fiscal cliff. We have to have a grand bargain. Because they're looking to rob you blind. And they want to do it as quickly as possible, probably in the lame duck session over the next couple of months. Because the longer you look at this grand bargain, the more you realize how badly you're being robbed. So quick a clock. You got to do that right away so that the American people don't catch on to this incredible theft of our money. How do you like that? Change you can believe in. All right, by the way, let me give you two last things here on this issue. President Obama, I've already told you, we've already shown you the clips on corporate tax cuts. He says, yeah, I'm going to lower corporate tax cuts. Now, by the way, he says, no, it's okay, I'm going to take away some loopholes, it's going to be revenue neutral. Well, what the fuck? I thought we were trying to balance the budget. I thought we were trying to raise money. So why are you bragging that it would be revenue neutral? He loves the establishment. He got elected by the establishment. He raised money from the establishment. The corporations, Obama's like, oh, Joe, please, I'm going to give you a corporate tax cut. Even after I did this whole campaign about how I'm going to raise taxes on the rich. And then how about the defense? Remember during one of the debates I pointed out to you? He said, oh, the sequester, we're not going to do that. What do you mean you're not going to do that? That's the law of the land. That's the big compromise you got with the Republicans in your first term. And then he said this, quote, they wanted defense cuts that were steeper than I felt comfortable with as a commander-in-chief, referring to Simpson-Bowles. Simpson-Bowles is already the deeply conservative grand bargain originators. And Obama's saying, oh, I don't like that because it's too many defense cuts. You think this guy's going to cut defense? You think this guy isn't looking out for the rich and the powerful? Psh, you're high on some sort of supply. And finally, there's about 28 different Republican congressmen saying the same talking point. I just want to give you two of them. And by the way, Romney used to say the same thing. And then you're going to get the great privilege of seeing President Obama say this very soon. Kevin Brady, Republican of Texas. Lower rates and close loopholes will generate higher revenue to bring the deficit down. See, that's a load of crap that Obama agreed to in the first term, but luckily they didn't make that deal. If we lower the rates, not increase the rates for the rich, lower the rates for the rich, it's okay because we will close loopholes and generate higher revenue. So every time you hear Obama talking about revenue, he's talking Republican language. Eric Cantor, quote, fundamental reform of the tax code that lowers rates broadens the base. Anytime you hear the catchwords tax reform and raising revenue, understand that it means the exact opposite. If they're talking about raising rates, that's a good sign. Please call me when they do that. Good luck.